hemp, 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 hemp. I can't decide, really, what I like best about hemp. Almost every day, some new hemp idea is coming up, and I think that's really what I like the most about hemp right now, is it is fostering the legalization of hemp. The Farm Bill passing in 2018 has created so much interest in ideas in hemp. It is incredible. And it's just the idea of it that I love so much. But man, you know what? Hemp always starts with a seed. That's right. Cannabis always starts with a seed. Even the clones started with a seed. Now, where the seed came from, chicken and the egg. But the idea is the seed. That is what I'm getting to, is all these seeds, all these ideas are being planted throughout the country and out the world right now. And they are only going to grow. And as I've said before, I think cannabis cultivates us. I don't know how much we actually cultivate it. And I believe that we're fixing to cultivate ourselves into a brighter and greener future. And you know, my good buddy Mike Leago, he says the same thing. Mike's involved in all kinds of things hemp. iHempX specifically is an online trading place that him and my good buddy Adrian are both involved in. They help people, farmers and vendors of all things hemp, acquire hemp. If you need any hemp products, man, check it out, iHempX. You can find a link for them on our website. They're often on our Instagram page. But any and all things, seeds, extract, biomass, advice, check those guys out. But man, Mike has a really high level understanding of what's going on in the hemp industry. And me and Justin Jones, we talked to Mike today by phone. I'm not sure where in the world he was today. I think he may have been in, I don't know, Oregon. He was probably in Oregon. He's got big projects going on there, big projects going on in Colorado, but he really has his finger on the pulse. And farming hemp, people making seeds of hemp, people, you know, just the cutting edge of hemp all over the world. You might want to check out some other episodes we've had Mike on. You can have a whole little Mike-isode, if you will, after this episode, this hemp-isode. This is another hemp-isode. It is still hemp, hooray month or months. I don't know how long this is going to go on, but we definitely have several hemp-isodes coming. So, yeah, man, world of information, great conversation. Like, we talk it the fuck up. So sit back, fire one up, and enjoy this episode of The Real Dirt. Hey, this is Chip with The Real Dirt, and on today's Dirt, I have a co-host.
Hello, Chip. Justin Jones here, co-host.
Co-host. This is the first time I've done anything really like this, but yeah, I've got a co-host, Justin Jones, longtime friend. He's involved in tons of cannabis stuff, whether it's ganja or whether it's hemp. Yeah, man, it's 2018. This is the first episode of The Real Dirt. If you haven't downloaded the latest or the last episodes of The Real Dirt, download them at The Real Dirt Podcast on iTunes. Check us out on therealdirt.com.
Hey, Chip, one thing, and it's a co-host's job to do this, but it is 2019.
Hey. What? What? I lost a whole year? Well, you know what it is, man?
Yeah.
I'm stuck in 2018 because our federal government, our elected officials, they rose to the challenge and they legalized cannabis sativa. They legalized hemp.
Yep.
Previously, many states have had legal hemp for agricultural production, legal CBD extraction, legal fiber production. And now it's federally legal as long as your state has passed a law.
Yep. If you can get a local license or tribal license or whatever, that's all they say. You just got to have it. You got to have it clear with your local.
Now we've got a good friend of ours online. Hey, Mike, are you there?
I'm here, guys. Good to be here.
Oh, hey, good to see you, Mike. It's been a minute. How you been?
I've been great. How are you two doing today?
Oh, doing great here. Just hanging out at Chips at the studio and enjoying some of that sunshine out here in Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, we've got a super stinky hemp plant in our studio today. Not quite sure what the genetic origin is, but man, this stuff smells like fruit. It looks like ganja. Wow, it's just really great to be around it, Mike.
That's incredible. I wish I was staring at one of those right now.
Here, you can smell it through the...
you should be able to smell it through the microphone.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah, that is pretty fruity.
It is. It smells good.
So,
Right
Mike, you have been a long-time hemp activist and business person. Why don't you give us a little primer and let's talk about how hemp, this federally legal hemp, is affecting you and your businesses.
Sure. Well, I appreciate the intro. And my name is Mike Leago with International Hemp Exchange. Known both you guys here for a little while, working with you guys in the hemp and cannabis space. You know, it's great to be back on the show talking about this plant because, like you mentioned, it's exciting times. The government has done the right thing in the midst of doing plenty of things wrong, and they've gone ahead and legalized hemp, and it's created a massive opportunity for farmers, for the country as a whole, to take advantage of this situation where we can finally grow this plant again and, start producing all the different byproducts that can come from it. So since the Farm Bill passed, we've just been bombarded by inquiries at the exchange.
And that's the iHemp Exchange X? Is that what we're
International Hemp Exchange, iHempX.com. And, we've just been, it gets busier and busier every day, definitely snowballing. A lot of people looking for genetics, a lot of people trying to find out where they're going to get their hemp seeds from, their hemp plants, what they need to know before they start growing it. Assuming that most of these people have licenses, not all of them do. Some of them are being a little more proactive and hoping their states get laws on the books. But there's a lot of people that are applying for licenses that don't know what the next steps are. And so we've been fielding a lot of those inquiries, talking to a lot of farmers, talking to a lot of processors, a lot of investors, a lot of brands. People are interested. And right now, the hot topic is certainly CBD and the other cannabinoids that can be extracted from the plant. But we're on the verge of, major food production starting to happen, fiber, grain, silage for the animals. So it's really exciting times. And, we're thrilled to be in the middle of it. And I'm happy to be working with you guys on a lot of it.
It sounds great. Chip and I were
talking. I can hear the enthusiasm, man.
Oh, yeah. And, I was asking Chip, I'm like, I wonder how, if Mike Leago could just wave the magic wand, how many more hours in the day would you want, Mike? And how many more days in a week right now? Because things have got to just be going.
25 more hours in a day and 8 more days in a week.
Things are just got to be going a million miles an hour for you and the team.
It is, but it's really exciting. I was telling somebody the other day, this is, kind of what I've dreamed about as an entrepreneur, to be in the midst of something growing so quickly. And to have it be the hemp plant is just, the icing on the cake. We couldn't be luckier to be here right now. And, Colorado and Oregon and other states that were more proactive and progressive when it came to hemp laws over the last few years, they really gave us a head start. And so we've been really fortunate. I've been really fortunate to be, in the middle of things in Colorado, to see it unfold, to meet the major players in the industry and just to be a part of it. There's not enough hours in the day, but we're packing them full of some pretty amazing stuff.
So Mike is one of the operators of iHempX, and it's an online marketplace where you source anything hemp, from hemp seeds to hemp concentrates, all kinds of hemp products. And one of the major things they do is they sell hemp. They sell hemp seeds to new farmers. You mentioned a minute ago about how many people that are calling in, they're new farmers and they want to know how to get started. If I'm calling you and I know nothing about hemp or ganja, you have these type of calls every day. Let's go through one. Hey, Mike, my name's Chip. I don't know anything about dope, but I want to start growing hemp.
This is a repeat of the call I just had, or you're trying to be fresh here? No, we're dealing with it all day long. And, some of them, they all mean well. There's a big learning curve here. And
how do you get started, man? How do you get started?
It kind of depends on what are you starting with. So are you an existing farmer that's been growing another ag crop that wants to switch into hemp? We're going to be able to draw a lot of correlations depending on the types of crops you've been growing, the types of, farm implementation you're used to using, type of irrigation method at your disposal, and try and create a little bit of a game plan for you so that you can, have a chance at success. A lot of people are jumping in and trying to take off too much. So we try and manage expectations. And if you're starting at 0, you probably shouldn't jump to 100 or 1,000 acres right off the bat. So we'll try and work with people to say, okay, you've got 200 acres, but what are you used to farming? What are you able to farm? And, let's talk about your budget. It's not free to grow. It's going to require investment. It's going to require some infrastructure.
Wait a second.
So,
hey, hold on. I think we set off the fire alarm in the studio.
Of course you guys
we just did.
Just hold for 1 second,
hold on.
okay?
Yeah, turn that fire alarm off. It did correlate, right, with us smarking up these joints, too. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it. Oh, man.
Is this the blooper reel?
Well, these we might just have to leave it in. That was fun.
Well, hey, I'm, it's winter time. I go Rasta in the winter because I don't want to catch a cold. And I told Justin, I was like, hey, man, bring a bunch of weed over here.
He's like, bring 2 of everything because I need my own. And
so sorry, we had a little fire alarm there. Where were we?
No problem.
Well, what I was hearing is that from you is that there's no one solution and that it's different for every single person depending on their rig, their farm, all those things that you said. And so it's hard to, a lot of farmers, a lot of people want to just be given an SOP. This is how you do it. And does that exist at all? Or what are we looking at here?
We're getting closer to that, but right now the people that have established those SOPs and figured it out from start to finish are, a lot of them are holding on to that information pretty tight and trying to grow their farm networks and figure it out. You've got a handful of consultants out there, more than a handful, but only a handful that are probably, worth working with. That'll share some SOPs, for a price. So our approach is that we want to set everyone up for success. There does reach a point where, you're veering into more consulting territory and it's going to be more time intensive, and we would put something like that together. But when we sell seeds to farmers, we try and make sure that we've addressed, their concerns. They've been able to discuss with us what their plan is. We can try and poke holes in it or make suggestions or try and figure out more efficiencies. Chip, I'd say that, we come from the same world prior to me jumping into hemp. And it's similar to when somebody calls you and says, I'm ready to set up a grow room, where do I start? And it's like, well, there's a number of different factors at play. There's a lot of similarities there. You look at what infrastructure
except the thing about ganja is the people that enter the industry, some of them have zero level of knowledge, but most of them have some understanding of it. And hemp, many people have no idea of any. I've heard people say, oh, hemp, that's the male plant of ganja. And it's like, no, that's not right. Oh, hemp, you plant it this way. Oh, hemp, it does this. And man, people's level of knowledge is just not really there. The information hadn't been there.
Well, nobody's had the plant.
Nobody's had the plant. No research, no universities. Yeah. And it hasn't been as exciting as ganja until recently. But I would say on the hemp side, it's even harder, right? Because it's either small mom and pop farmers, people that hear about hemp and think that this is a good economic opportunity, or on the other side, man, it's farmers like that are growing row crops in hundreds of acres and thousands of acres, and they come out with a totally different fucking perspective.
And hey, it's agriculture at the end of the day with hemp. I know Gandas as well to an extent, but the scale of these hemp farms is getting to be pretty large. And even for, a mom and pop operation in hemp is quite a lot of effort. And anybody that thinks farming and agriculture is easy is going to have a rude awakening when they jump into hemp.
So, Mike, I hear a lot of times where the hemp farmers are going to do more than they did last year, and so. But I'm also hearing about a lot of new farmers coming on. What are you seeing on the licensing side of things in places in some of these states. What, are the numbers going crazy? How many farmers registered last year and how many have already registered this year? What are you seeing on that end of things?
So I don't have those stats sitting right in front of me, but I know a couple weeks ago we got some national figures that there were over 275,000 acres already registered. And that's in comparison to a total of 76,000 that were registered this past year.
Wow.
And I don't think of those 76,000, I think, we were probably lucky to see 40,000 of those make it to the finish line.
Yep.
So we're already at, 300,000 plus today. And it's going to double by the time we get to planting season, if not more than that, based on our estimates.
This increase in the acreage, how does that compare, in your opinion, to the demand for CBD and what that how that's going to continue to go up, or are we flatlined on CBD? Are we skimming the surface? What's the balance that you're feeling there?
That's a great question, and I wish I had the magic ball in front of me to get the answer. It's the question of the day, and as all this investment money pours in and people scale and infrastructure, particularly in processing, gets set up, that is the question, is how much can the market support? If we're going to produce and sell billions of seeds next year, let's follow that down the supply chain. How much biomass does that create? How much oil does that create? And how many bottles of 1,000 milligram tinctures does it create? Right. It's a lot. Where we're at right now is that we have a bunch of grassroots companies or, smaller brands that have gotten in the space and built some pretty incredible businesses in CBD and hemp products. But we've yet to see any of the big guys jump in, any of them. And so they're going to make waves when they get in. And that's the part that's pretty unpredictable, is if you have Coke or Pepsi or Anheuser-Busch or Philip Morris or Pharma come in and start, needing these products, that could be a game changer.
And
this is going to extend. Yeah, that's where I was going to go, is this is going to extend a lot further beyond food products and supplements, but into the entire CPG world of skincare and cosmetics and bath and body and all these other toothpaste, these products in our life that could have CBD in it and where we could probably be benefiting. And those supply chains need massive amounts of hemp and CBD to create one product line, let alone a whole offering. But the big companies haven't gotten in yet. This is global. And, as is always the case, there's a lot of demand for American products, whether it's the genetics, the output. We're doing an incredible job here in the U.S. of starting to scale the infrastructure when it comes to farming, the right farm implements, processing, drying. That stuff's going to take time to ramp up in any of these new markets. And right now we're doing a great job here in the States, and we'll continue to. So we're optimistic that this thing's got a few years of growth.
Oh yeah, man. It's just starting, man.
But then again, some of these people are going to start growing so much product. It's just fascinating to see how much that makes at every step of the supply chain, and then to watch it disappear at the end and people to come back needing more. So it's a fascinating time to be a part of it all. It's
really amazing at how it scales right now. And, we've been watching hemp for a long time. 6 years ago, it was a completely different beast than it is today. Do you see like a number one problem with hemp farmers or people that want to be in the CBD industry on scaling?
Absolutely. We're going to face it this year. When we were talking those numbers earlier of scaling from 75,000 registered acres to 300,000, that's probably going to end up being somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million acres. Mm-hmm. We didn't have enough infrastructure last year to dry it. And now we, have a bottleneck in processing to process all that material once it's ready. And so we can't scale fast enough to keep up with it. And so that, it's going to continue to create bottlenecks, and from those bottlenecks, more opportunities.
I know there's not an average hemp farmer right now, but could you give me the outsiders, the outliers, the smallest and the biggest, from the people that call you looking for seeds or isolate, can you talk about it that way? The smallest guy, the biggest guy.
Yeah. So, we had a great conversation this morning with a small farmer in Tennessee that did an acre last year and is going to do 5 or 10 this year. And while that doesn't seem like a lot and isn't going to have an impact on the supply chain, it was really great to hear this guy talk about what hemp is doing for their property and their experience last year and their whole plan to turn this family farm into a biodynamic farm and bring on more animals and bring on some more acreage and really create a cool farm operation that's giving back in their community and doing things the right and sustainable way. And hemp's a vehicle to help kind of drive that.
Yeah,
and
man.
that's just fascinating. I keep saying fascinating, but it's just great to hear those conversations and talk to those people and see the wide range of impact, because this guy mentioned, like we hear on every other call, the billions that are being thrown around and the potential for everyone to make $1 million farming hemp, and it doesn't always work out that way, and that's not what everybody is necessarily going at. So you've got the range of the guys down on that end, and then you have another conversation we had today, which was with a group of investors that want to put together a fund and purchase a lot of seed and find farmers to work with and try and follow that product down the supply chain and start to, build it vertically over the next couple of years. But they're coming in at, ground zero and trying to figure it out as they go. And they've got money they can put towards it, but are going to have to figure the rest out. And
give me some money ideas on what these guys are talking about. Are they talking about like a $50,000 investment or $20 million investment? $100 million?
$2 million. $2 million to start, and hopefully get it to 20 or 40 million next year to reinvest.
Right. Okay.
And Mike, explain why that's kind of going to be popular this year in relation to what the input cost for a farmer is normally that's farming whatever they're farming, grass or some other row crop, and how they traditionally would be getting ready for the spring planting versus the hemp, and what's different, and what are the costs associated.
Right. Well, I can't touch on all those points, because I haven't grown some of those other row crops. But when it comes to a farmer, setting aside money and forecasting their needs and their returns, the numbers are a lot lower when you're talking about other crops. So you're talking, investments of dollars to $20 an acre in seed, and returns anywhere from a few $100s to a couple $1,000, maybe more if you're in a specialty niche.
And that's for grains or alfalfa or corn or something like that.
Correct.
That's what you're speaking.
A lot of those commoditized crops.
And what's the adverse of hemp? What's the seed cost per acre and the potential price?
You're going to get a range. So, if you're doing grain or fiber hemp, you're going to be similar. You're going to be looking $20, maybe $30, $40 an acre to get seed in the ground. Or actually, no, you're looking at like $20 a pound and multiple pounds, but low input cost on your seed. And then, maybe getting a few X higher return on your grain or fiber. But when it comes to the CBD side of the hemp plant, now we're talking $1 a seed. Anywhere from 1,500 to 10,000 seeds an acre, depending on the varietal and what they're looking for. Most people are averaging around 2,000 seeds an acre, I'd say. And so people are investing $1,500, $2,000 an acre in seed, which is more than most farmers are used to getting out of an acre at the end of the season.
Sure.
But now we're seeing returns of, on the low end, 30, 40 grand, upwards of, $250,000 an acre.
Totally. I've saw it $28 a pound in Kentucky this year. And the farmer, he had 10,000 pounds that he grew on 5 acres.
It really exists, and I talked to a guy in Oregon very similar to that, and what's really neat is to see how it's impacting the core of America, our farmers, and so one of those things is, like Mike just said, is the farmer versus spending $20 or $30 on some seed to spend $1,500 to $5,000 or whatever an acre type of money. The farmers aren't ready to. They can't just do that, especially the ones that didn't plant any hemp last year, right, Mike?
Correct. And we shouldn't generalize quite that much. There are farmers that are, willing to step up and grow at that level and, make that investment and, put in some significant acreage. But a lot of people want to walk before they run, or they want to partner with somebody, or they want, someone there that can help them have a little bit more confidence that they're going to get that product to the finish line. And a lot of farmers aren't used to growing crop without knowing ultimately where it's going to go at the end of the season. They might know that there might be a little bit of a price fluctuation, but they're going to go to buyer A, B, or C. with hemp, it's high reward and there's also some risk. And while most people are, doing really well out of there, it's not a sure thing. It's not a guarantee that there's going to be somebody there with a check when you, harvest that crop to take it off your hands. And so, people that want to see these high multipliers are often get sucked into the game of, trying to sell hemp, find buyers, take it further down the supply chain to see some of those higher returns. And then you have other people that are a lot more reasonable with their expectations and would accept a much lower price for, an easy sale. So you kind of got that whole spectrum of, how people are looking at it at the beginning of the season and at the end of the season.
It's just how people farm anything pretty much.
Yeah. And it really sounds like the International Hemp Exchange has the connections to help the farmers, connect the dots. If a farmer is looking for that, needs help with the seed, you guys know people that are looking for that exact,
What's the biggest farm? What's the biggest farm you guys have sold seeds to?
This year is a lot of the established and larger players from last year are expanding, significantly, but they're diversifying. And so, they're not necessarily saying we want to grow from 100 acres to 1,000 acres in one plot, but they might take that plot to a few hundred acres and then set up a bunch of other few hundred acre plots in different parts of the state and different parts of the country,
right,
as a way to kind of hedge their bets on weather and other factors that might, go into the growing conditions. So
100 acres, 10,000 acres, 7,000 acres.
Okay. Yeah. So where I was going there is that we've got orders for, 30 million seeds plus. So you start to work that math backwards and it's thousands of acres.
Yeah, totally. Thousands of acres.
We're working on a deal right now up in Oregon for 2,000 acres.
It also seems like on this expansion, anything that was being done manually now has to be done mechanically and with the farm implements. And how does that affect how many plants an acre people put down, and what does that do?
You can definitely do more with equipment, that's for sure. the right equipment.
Absolutely. And it just makes people have to think it all the way through from beginning to end. A lot of the hemp industry in the past years has been, you think out to the next step and not a whole lot further than that. And so you figure out where you're getting your genetics, you figure out how you're getting them in the field, you figure out how you're going to grow them. And at the end of the season, you start to figure out how to get them out. And while it's worked in, the infancy of the industry, now we need some more serious planning. And the farms that are going to scale and do so successfully need to know before that seed goes in the ground, how it's coming out of the ground, where it's going, how it's being dried, and how it's being stored. Yeah. And then you start working that system backwards to figure out, well, if we're going to have these genetics that grow, about this big and they're going to come down this time of year, then we're going to want to come in there with this piece of equipment and, either chop it, lay it down, et cetera, to meet their needs. But we're definitely seeing that now, people really starting to figure it out and really do the R&D to figure out the better mousetrap. Because if you can think of a way to do it right now, people are trying it and trying to perfect it and exploring, other options at the same time. So I don't think anybody has it totally dialed as of yet, but the people that are scaling successfully are definitely bringing in, real farm implementation to get the job done.
Well, Mike, I know you're the man, so to speak, on helping people out with this. How do farmers of all sizes get in touch with you?
iHempX.com, or they can call 1-877-FARM-HEMP. That's our hotline. You'd get put on right with one of our salespeople.
Your hemp line. That's your hemp line.
Our hemp line. So 877-FARM-HEMP.
And it's iHempX.com.
You got it.
And farmers can go there and get seeds, clones. They can buy isolate, sell isolate, buy biomass, sell biomass.
You got it.
Yeah, they can do it all.
Smokable flower.
Totally.
Yep, we didn't even touch on that today, but we need a whole other episode.
We'll have another episode on that one. That one's absolutely. Yep. Well, hey, Mike, thanks for joining me and Justin today, man. I really appreciate it, and I know this is going to be one of our most downloaded episodes on hemp for sure. Thanks, man.
It's always a pleasure to be on the show. I hope you guys don't burn it down over there.
No, fuck, man. We're going to definitely burn it down, dude.
Keep the roof on the place. Let's say that.
All right. Good talking to you.
All right. Take care, fellas. Talk soon.
Wow, man, that was great. You can feel the enthusiasm.
I'm really, really have been impressed with that guy since the first day I met him back in September, 6 months ago, and I met him through you, and I knew right away he had something going on that was really good because he was out in the field, out seeing people building personal relationships, and sometimes when something's illegal on different levels, not illegal on other levels, having real personal relationships, going and meeting people, seeing what they're doing, engaging in what's going on has been missing, and it's more been a phone call and, a lot of guys, hitting the phones and just people doing one-off deal. Yeah. Well, or a lot of just one-time deals. Everything's just, okay, I got this, you got that. We can make, but we need it, money, bam. Now people are like, no, I want to continue to work with these people. Or what they've done at the exchange is really, they know everybody they're working with is real. They've been there on the farm. They've went out to lunch with guys. They've invested the time and the personal energy, and that's really what it takes down the road.
One of the things that Mike said that's really interesting to me is, man, where do you think this is going right now, and how long do you think it's going to last?
Yeah. Well, I don't have an opinion because I'm a little bit too new on the hemp. But what I do hear out there is that, the next 2-3 years, it's going to be a really good crop. It's going to make a lot more money than the other things. But let's talk about what farmers have already been through a little bit. And there's been bubbles throughout the years. And so there was a grass seed bubble when all the golf courses started overseeding, and when all these places in the southeast that wanted the green grass all year long, that all kind of came out of places like Oregon. And so that was like a bubble, and those guys made more money than they normally would, which allowed them to upgrade the farm.
Hustle, man.
Upgrade the farm. And so then canola, at some point there was canola, it was a boom. Ethanol comes, corn, boom, guys are getting $10 a bushel. Well, that's how you rebuild your farm. And when you've got generational farms, which, we have all over America, if you're going to pass it down for your kids and your grandkids, you got to upgrade, and in order to maintain your profit margins, you might need a bigger building or a better building, and fix the old building, bigger tractor. So they hit these bubbles hopefully every 10 or 20 years, and they rebuild the farm, and they make it better, make it more profitable, and then when it does go back to a normal thing, then they'll be good at it, and they'll grow it, and it'll have provided this thing that we need in the core of America.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. And I believe that hemp is one of the best opportunities for the small farmer right now, just for exactly the thing you said. You're really getting paid per acre, especially small farms. It's really low labor. Just a couple people could manage, several acres and actually put infrastructure in their farm.
Yeah, well, I got, right. I mean, there's, if you go smaller, but there's also a part of this that I kind of have been seeing, where the questions that the farmers are having, and where am I going to sell it, and all these other things that they're that they don't operate that way. The farmers already know where their stuff's already going and who's buying it, and everything's done. So this is a big this is like
wait a second,
whoa, hey, and it's like, well, listen, if you're going to make, like Mike said, 40,000 an acre, 50, 100, if you're going to make that kind of money, you got to take a little bit of a leap of faith, and so, as long as there's not something irresponsible going on where someone has never grown it and they're going to try to do 400 acres, you're like, you're going to fail, so, but when you're talking to guys that did 2 acres last year and want to do 20, this year, and they were super successful last year, you're like, right on, and I met a guy that was, same kind of thing, did 2 acres, him and his kid, all by hand. And they thought they had enough room to dry it, and boy, they did not.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Because he didn't know he was going to have. He ended up having. He had 8,000 pounds of biomass at 15%.
Wow,
and
that takes some room to dry it out.
And
traditional drying techniques.
Yeah, but on 2 acres. So
that's pretty good.
He got $4. I think he got $4 a point for it. So that he but
hey, I've
seen
those
guys. It's a game changer, man, and the American. You want to make America good again or great again or whatever else. This really injects this money right into the core of America, and it's not like like, hey, Microsoft, super cool, and it changed everything. But, there's only a couple places that their facilities are that really they have
only
some
a few
huge
people
impact.
kept the money, right?
This is across the board. Every big town, small town.
It's some Willie Nelson
place.
shit. This is some real farm aid, man.
Get the guitar. Let's write a song right now about how
farm, real farm, hemp and the farm, 2018, 19.
Yeah, well, I tell you though, Mike and his team, and I've been working with them for the last 6 months on a couple of parts of their platform, and it has been great. And for me, in my 10th year of legal, marijuana, and we're not going to use that word anymore. So ganja.
10th year legal cannabis since
I've been, and so now to see it on the other end, and I want to talk a little bit about the other thing that's going on, and that is that, right here in Colorado, Republican Senator Cory Gardner, he stood up to Trump last summer and said, look, I will not, I'm the swing vote. You guys think you have a Republican majority in the Senate, but if I don't vote Republican, you don't. And he stood up. We talked earlier about how the politicians finally did what the constituents really wanted and needed and put hemp on the farm bill. Yay, clap, awesome.
Yay.
So now we're like, let's go back to the same thing. The ganja side of this has to have, its day, and we know what the country thinks. And I think that Cory Gardner did the right thing and basically was able to shut down the entire Republican White House and say, you need to make it so that our people in Colorado and in the other states can actually function and do this. So,
yeah, absolutely, man.
Just a couple of days ago on the news, we've been hearing about the bills going in, the federalism bill, and we've heard Donald Trump on record say that he plans on signing it. And so, the end of 2018 with the Farm Bill, in 2019, this plant, it won't be fully liberated with the federalism bill, but it will allow the states that have already made their claim and what they want to do, they're going to be legal. So it's going to really,
it's coming, man.
It's going to be a good year. And,
it's coming.
You and I have talked about this for a long time, and, we're here, and it's really fun. And I'm glad to be involved with the hemp side now too. So what are you doing with hemp?
Dude, I'm so fascinated with hemp. We are involved with all aspects of it, from some genetic development stuff to some research on cultivation practices to like selling hemp farmers soil amendments.
Well, that's what I was
irrigation.
Yeah, irrigation.
Like, I mean, it's a different beast as far as sales of products, for sure, because you're talking about fertilizing acres, you're talking about amending acres, you're talking about amending or doing irrigation for acres and acres. It's a completely different beast, but man, just the level of excitement when people come in is so much different than ganja.
Are people coming into the Cultivate stores and talking about hemp?
Oh, yeah, totally. Cultivate, we sell to home growers and commercial growers all over the country. And our biggest rising segment right now are hemp farmers. I was looking at my stats for last year. Check this out, Justin.
Yeah.
We sold 900,000 100 count cells for starting seeds last year.
Yep.
That was all for hemp.
Wow.
The years before, we'd sold like 4,000.
Right.
And this is 900,000.
Big time.
Yeah, totally. So it's definitely a different market. It's definitely a different customer.
In 2015, I remember, and recreational ganja had exploded here. I was in the middle of it. Kush bottles were, going bananas here in Colorado, providing the child-resistant packaging solutions. We used to get guys come in there, and they were hemp guys, and they were like, "Oh, I got a greenhouse of hemp over here, or this or that," and we all, we kind of, just scratched our heads and was, we're like,
laughed about not getting high.
No, it wasn't that. No. We kind of were like, what are those guys getting into? Like, what's really going on over there? And so a lot of those people were people that were, for whatever reason, hadn't gotten into the regulated system in Colorado or Denver, wherever they were at, and they just stayed on the path with the plant and on the hemp side. And so now these guys, are they've got years in on hemp, and the rug's pulled all the way out. The genie is all the way out of the bottle, and it's the ganja side of me gets a little jealous, because it's like, because we need it bad too, right? So, but I also believe that that hemp being legal is going to absolutely make sure that it gets legal on the ganja side. It can't. I mean, it looks the same. Chip, we're sitting right next here. You cannot tell the difference.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I mean, it absolutely
softens it so much.
It is the same. It is the same plant. We know that, and so the other things that need to fall in place will fall in place.
Well, hey, man, we're going to round up that episode of The Real Dirt. Thanks for co-hosting. We're going to see you listeners are going to hear us next week.
All right.
Yeah, and we're going to speak to some real hemp farmers.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Justin Jones for joining me today.
Thank you, Chip.
And I'd also like to thank Cultivate Colorado for sponsoring this episode, as well as Growers Potting Soil. If you're looking for an awesome soilless, bug-free, weed-free medium, check out Growers Potting Soil. You can check us out at growerssoil.com or just come and buy some bags at Cultivate Colorado. If you're interested in other episodes like this, you can download this at the Real Dirt Podcast on iTunes, and you can get it directly off our website at therealdirt.com. Thanks for listening.
Chip, I'm going to jump in here.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a testimonial.
Let's hear a testimonial.
All right.
Justin. All right.
I just want to say, because it came up in conversation when I was at the grow today, and then, Dank, our business has been a customer of Cultivate now for
2008.
Yeah, 12 years, almost 12. So I can tell all your listeners firsthand that you will not find a better place to buy everything you need for the cannabis plant.
Damn straight.
Than Cultivate, and
a friendly staff to boot.
Hey, you know what? It's all you've really done a great job. You've got it all, and I'm just here as a customer, happy customer for 12 years, and that I just want people to know that.
Well, hey, Justin's one of my favorite customers. I want you to download his original interview on the Real Dirt podcast, and I tell a little story about why he's my favorite customer.
Yeah,
so
check it out.
Once again, thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode.